Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Disc Coverers, the only podcast online that reads, reviews, and ranks all 41 of Terry Pratchett's seminal series of comic fantasy novels, The Discworld. I'm Iris J. Pronouns are she or zer if you're spicy, and I am so excited to be back here with you, the audience, and these, my gracious co-hosts, including a special guest. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves? Why don't we begin with our special guest? I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm KEL MCDONALD. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm a special guest because I am a self-professed werewolf expert and a big Discworld fan. So this is the book for me to be a guest on.
I'm so excited. KEL is a longtime listener and probably, like, outside of the other folks here in this podcast, the most Discworld experienced, like, what's the word? My brain is popping up Svengali, but that's not correct. A maven, a wizened sage of Discworld.
A wizard, a Discworld wizard.
I remember when you were starting this podcast, Iris, and we were talking about Discworld, and you said Jingo was the most racist Discworld book. And I said, I think you are forgetting about Interesting Times.
I specifically was like, were you the one that kept telling us, no, just wait for Interesting Times? Because you were very, very right. You were completely right. Good job.
Like when I first said Jingo is not the most racist Discworld book, you countered with examples of how Jingo was racist. And I was like, oh, no, that's not my argument. My argument is that there is more racism in Interesting Times.
You were right. Not yet hit the bottom. Yeah. Anyways, my other three co-hosts are also special guests, but in so much as they're special in that they show up every month for this thing. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Grace, then June, then Belina.
Oh, I get to go, basically first this time. We'll take that. Hello, everypony. I am the internet's beloved Princess Grace. She, her, fey, fear, fair, if you're spicy. And I am, once again, pleased as punch to be here.
Hello, I am Juniper, as always. Pronouns are she, her. I'm very excited for this episode because this is one of my favorite books. I forgot about it. I forgot how much I loved it. Really excited to talk about it.
I am still Belina, she/they/CB. I'm always just happy to be here and happy to actually be prepared for once.
Oh, also, I'd like to formally apologize if my chair squeaks all through the episode. It's been so squeaky recently.
That's okay. I can edit it out in post, mostly. Oh, okay. Unless it squeaks at the exact moment you're talking, in which case you're on your own.
Well, that hopefully won't happen. Damn it, I tried to make it happen and it didn't.
Yeah. It's fine. Sometimes having noise in the studio is part of the magic of podcasting. Sometimes I open my water bottle and there's like clanging. Sometimes people hit desks. Sometimes there's typing. But all of these things can be edited out using the magic of Audacity. And if they can't be edited out, then I handle them with the magic of not caring about it. And listeners can deal with the fact that we're human people.
Good choice.
It adds verisimilitude. It's like you're there at a real space.
It's like sonic skeuomorphism, yeah.
It's why we had to integrate my Kosa's bird being around into the fiction on Horse Truck, because what are you gonna do? Like, she's a bird, she makes noise.
That's great. Anyways, the book we're talking about today is The Fifth Elephant, put out by Terry Pratchett in, I believe it was 1999 or 2000? 2000, yeah. So the copy I got off of A-Libris this time is an advanced copy, and it's the first book I've ever seen with a pull quote on the spine, where the San Francisco Chronicle describes it as unadulterated fun. Would y'all agree that this book is unadulterated fun?
No.
I'm trying to remember if there's any adultery. I don't think so.
Well, okay, we do open with some sex workers, but nobody actually does adultery with them. That we know of.
Also, this book isn't just fun. This is honestly This book, honestly, one of the things I want to comment on is that it felt a bit like it's a turn for more serious.
It
like
is definitely darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I had relatively few jokes to like remark on this time around.
There are conspicuous lacks of jokes. Like there are several points where Vimes has to go into like grimdark mode because if he makes jokes, then he thinks he's less of a human being.
Yeah, or because he's being cut to ribbons by werewolves.
Yeah, it's a very like, I think there was a note I made where it was like, this, if, you know, I don't know if it's been a gradual thing or like a cliff thing. We also said that Carpe Jugulum was unusually dark, but like, this feels the furthest from like comic fantasy novel that I think we've gotten so far in the Discworld series. It really is just like a fantasy crime novel with the occasional witticism peppered in. Except for all the bits that are set back in Ankh-Morpork, which are still very much Discworld.
Maybe it's Uberwald. Like, everything in Uberwald is all serious, but Ankh-Morpork can still be funny.
Yes, probably. But, yeah, really interesting. So, before we get too in the weeds with describing a book that y'all don't know what we're talking about, why don't we hand things over to our expert synoptrix, Belina, to explain to us exactly what the hell The Fifth Elephant is all about. It's very much about elephants, I'm sure. Definitely not an arbitrary title at all.
Yeah, definitely not a title that he just plucked out of the aether because it was a movie that he liked.
Yeah.
I mean, it is sort of about elephants a little bit, but
I feel like he had to work backwards real hard to wedge in Fifth Elephant references to this.
I feel like this is one of those cases where he made a joke and then figured he was stuck with it.
I think this book is sort of about elephants. There's some stuff there that you could talk about, but it has nothing to do with The Fifth Element, the movie. The pun is the part that's just like, why'd you do this to me? There's nothing there. The plot, like, yeah, I mean, there's there is a bit of that to it, at least. They go into it a bit.
They do explain what the fifth elephant is, but like,
yeah,
the role
literally
the
and
fifth
metaphorically
elephant plays in this in the book has nothing to do with anything that happens at the film The Fifth Element.
Well, I would slightly disagree because the titular fifth element is love, which is a thing, is the only element out of the others in the five that you cannot actually hold in your hand, or tangentially like give to someone. It is all a metaphor, but is also very important. And as stated in Hogfather, things like truth and justice would also be in that similar category. So the fifth elephant being a thing that is not real but is actually the whole of the thing does thematically connect them, not just the pun.
I'm glad we have you as both the werewolf expert and the movie Fifth Element expert, because yeah, I've seen it like once.
In that case, love wins. Congratulations, everyone. That was
but
synopsis.
this book, I feel like this book would have been better with a ruby rod in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it would have.
Yeah, it would have added some
A lot of movies
levity.
are improved by a ruby rod.
Vimes would have
That's true.
absolutely appreciated if this was a movie where the antagonist and the protagonist never met one another.
Yeah. I will say, though, this book isn't The Fifth Element, but this book, for long stretches of it, is kind of Die Hard.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
I could very easily see a Bruce Willis-led movie adaptation of
You
this.
could.
And I mean,
I say
Brian
this
Bruce
with no
Willis.
pleasure at all, but you could make Bruce Willis play a pretty decent Vimes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I maybe it's because I just watched Die Hard's 1 and 3. Still great movies. But, when I was reading this, I was kind of imagining a Willisian Vimes. Like, I think he, like, they had the same kind of, like, sarcastic asshole energy when they're going through it. Like, I could absolutely see, like, Vimes going through all this shit without any shoes on.
Yeah, he's a sarcastic bastard.
Except he loves his wife, which
and this,
which John McClane would never do.
I have a crossbow now. Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, John McClane loves his wife, but like he doesn't really want to put in the work to continue having a wife.
So,
Yeah.
anyways,
So, anyways, before we
go
we elaborate on Vimes' marital status, let's talk about that synopsis. Bellina, whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Yeah.
Something is rotten in the state of Uberwald. This is considered to be its natural state given the tenuous peace between the local dwarves, werewolves, and vampires, but with the new low king of the dwarves set to be crowned, there's treachery afoot. The local werewolf clan, coincidentally Angwa's family, is effectively led by Wolfgang von Uberwald, are planning on messing up the ceremony by messing with a scone of stone, a 15th century old loaf of dwarf bread upon which the king sits. To begin, they steal a replica loaf from the Ankh-Morpork Dwarf Bread Museum and have a replica of a replica made. In his typical fashion, the patrician sends Vimes under the guise of simply attending the coronation, saddled with an assassin disguised as a clerk. Don't worry, the assassin gets killed before he really does anything more important than carry Chekhov's crossbow. With Vimes out of town, an interim captain needs to step up. Carrot is initially selected, but he promptly abandons his post to go chase after Angwa, whose family is, again, at the center of this whole conspiracy thing. This leads to Colin being given the job in Carrot's stead. It goes fine, don't worry about it. Getting to the town of, Brionk, after a short random encounter with bandits just outside, Vimes is introduced to the local powers, the future Low King, and confirms that not only was the real scone stolen, but its ceremonial guard was nowhere near as foolproof as was advertised. Without it, the dwarf law falls apart, and civil war is all but assured. Later framed for an attempt on the king's life that he did not commit, Vimes is briefly thrown into prison and clearly set up to get himself killed. Thankfully, he manages to get out of that jam, only to be thrown into a worse one, rescued from that one, and thrown into yet another worse one, to finally find himself having to escape from Wolfgang and his pack in the game, in which he's rescued by Carrot and Angua. Despite everything, Vimes spends a lot of this book on the back foot. Of course, Cybele was taken into custody at the same time as Vimes and is being held effectively hostage by the werewolves again. Cybele escapes immediately, but as Vimes has no way to know this, he leads an assault on the castle of Baron Uberwald. Wolfgang is seemingly defeated at significant cost, and the replica of the scone is recovered. It turns out that the, quote, real scone of stone was destroyed rather than stolen, and that everything since then has been a copy of a copy of a copy as well. The real one fell apart well over 1,000 years ago and has been replaced several times. Like most forms of government, as it is all made up anyways, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. Wolfgang makes one more final desperate attack just before the coronation, killing an innocent Igor and being chased halfway across Biog before catching a loaded mortar round with his teeth. He dies as he lives, biting off more than he can chew. The coronation itself goes smoothly. This delegation is sent back to Ankh-Morpork where they can get things fixed up before Cybele and Vimes get back from the second honeymoon.
Hey!
I just lost the game.
Sorry. I think that's the most I've tripped up on one of these in a while.
That's fine.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a real puzzle box of a book.
It was actually very hard to take that one apart because everything happens at the same time and the threads are so tangled up that how do you present them linearly?
Yeah, I just think that it was a really, like, as I kind of slightly got into before, I feel like it was really like a well tied together mystery, in the sense also that, like, the mystery at the center of it, well, the kind of the two connected mysteries, which is like the Scone of Stone's theft and also the murder of Mr. Shonky, the rubber
the condom man
manufacturer, the condom guy.
Mr. Sonky.
Yes.
I listened to the
They weren't
audiobooks,
actually.
so like if I pronounce stuff differently from you, that's what the audiobook says.
Yeah, the audiobook's going to be
Okay.
better at this than we are.
Got it. But yeah, like, it's interesting that those weren't necessarily very big mysteries or very complex mysteries. It was really more like the giant katamari of politics and intrigue and ideology that sort of accreted around them that forms the twists and turns of the book.
Every single party was involved in what was going on and had a hand in it, but for vastly different reasons with vastly different aims.
Yeah, there wasn't really like these people are just here to make jokes, except for back in Ankh-Morpork, which we only really see a couple of times. Like, most of the characters that we're introduced to and the people who do things do actually show up in an important way, or at least have something relevant to do, and that's better than I can say for a lot of Discworld books. Mm-hmm. The mystery itself is pretty simple. Yeah, like it's if you're reading this book, you figure out that they made a copy of it like within the first, I don't know, 50 pages or so. It's really obvious.
Everyone makes that connection, but then the question becomes, well, fuck, then why?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a question of like did that happen, or was he killed for that reason? It's, okay, you know what's happened, basically. Why did it happen? Who did this? Who's going about it? Who killed the guys in the tower? Who killed Vimes's guard? Obviously, it's probably the werewolves. Why are the werewolves doing this? Is it that, like, what's going on? Is an interesting question throughout most of the book.
Yeah, like, it's investigating the murder of Wallace Sonke is, like, for most of the book, just a pretense for Vimes to be, like, doing police work outside of Ankh-Morpork, and he says as much. He's like, I'm investigating a murder. That's why I'm doing cop shit right now.
And it works well. It works really well, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's exciting and fun.
How did y'all feel about the characterization of Vimes in this book? Because I feel like he really hit a turning point in this volume. I think just because, like, in every previous Vimes book, even with Jingo, even though half of that book he spent outside of Ankh-Morpork, he's really, most of it has been about him being a city guy, doing city things in the city and kind of acting within his element. And any opposition he faces is other people trying to tell him that he can't be a copper, and him basically trying to push back and say, no, I define what policing is this way through my actions. With this, he doesn't have the ability to be a cop until the very end. And so he's really been unmoored and kind of had to learn about... We really get to see a side of Vimes that's a little less varnished with authority and with delegation than in previous books. I think that's really interesting that he's so out of his depth. He sucks at being an ambassador. He hates it. And also, like, he sucks at being an ambassador not because he's, like, bad at it, but just because he doesn't have time or patience to play the little, like, court intrigue games and, like, lie networks that everybody else has so clearly been playing for decades here. And that was why Vetinari sent him, so that he could basically, like, set everybody else off balance. But I feel like seeing him in such stark relief to different surroundings like this really kind of helps refine exactly who he is. I don't know if we could have gotten the Vimes in Night Watch or, later books if that hadn't sort of been refined in this book.
I think it's also... this is when Sybil is the most involved in the plot since Guards.
Yeah!
And that helps change his outlook on what's going on, because that is this is a place where Sybil is better. She's still not appreciated for her skills, because they are soft skills, but she is... helping him see the bigger picture.
God, yeah. She saves his ass, like, at least twice in this book.
I actually really appreciated the scene where, where she goes, look, Sam, I did all the measurements today and something's wrong here. And she just, because look, I measured and these carpets don't line up with the actual dimensions of the embassy. And she just breaks kayfabe and goes, Sam, please think like a copper for a moment. And he just immediately goes, oh shit, there's a secret passage.
Yeah, please think like a cop and not like my husband for a second.
Yeah, this is some House of Leaves shit. Come on, man.
This is the book that really makes them, I don't know, work as a couple in a real way. Mm-hmm. I kept reading it just being like, yeah, I get why these two people love each other so much. I get why these two people are so close and care about each other, how they work well together. How they pick up each other's slacks, yeah.
In previous books, Sybil's been, like, nothing more than kind of a footnote. She's just been like, oh, yeah, the lady who Vimes lives with, who's the old ball and chain, whatever. But in this, it's like, oh, you get how they complement each other. You get that, like, Vimes would have a way worse time here, and probably also would have a way worse time at home, if not for her kind of being his counterpart. It's nice.
Yeah.
And
Like
I think that part of that is it points out that her soft skills are unappreciated by most people, but they are necessary parts of life.
Yeah, there's the moment early on. There's the moment early on where the Baroness is immediately just dismissive of Sybil in a really specific way. That's like, oh, she's the supportive person that always sends a card, even though she never gets one back. You can tell that she sucks from that. And it's obviously intended to make you go, no, actually, that makes me like her more and understand what sort of an asshole you are. And it's just part of the thing that really sets her up to be like, okay, she has skills here. She knows what she's doing. She cares. She's good at this.
I want to put in a call out specifically for like when she's being held hostage at the castle. She just immediately escapes, and it doesn't matter that she did. Plot wise, it makes no difference whether she had already gotten out or not. But it was a chance for her to just actually have agency and actually be active in what's going on. That like Vimes gets there and then she just sort of trots out because she's already gotten herself free.
No, yeah, like she's already been chained to a rock in front of a dragon. Like this really isn't that big of a deal for her to finagle and escape from.
God, it's just good to see her being so fun and exciting and interesting. I love her so much. This is the Sybil that I always loved. This is the Sybil that made me be like, Vimes and Sybil are one of my favorite couples in fiction, and getting to see her in her element doing all that.
Yes, that exactly. The fact that she knew what was going on in all of the social situations and was able to help Vimes bumble through it was just beautiful. Like we see her soft skills actually being vitally important.
Yeah, like Vimes is dead on his feet and like has barely any idea what's going on because he's half dead, been attacked by werewolves, been up straight running for his life like all day, and but she's there to like hold the Low King's feet to the fire and get the fat mining agreement that there is the actual reason they're here allegedly. Even though that's kind of you kind of forget about that with everything else going on.
What's important is not that we forgot about it, but that she didn't.
Yeah, that she like, oh, well, I had a chance to read everything and,
Yeah. I was under house arrest anyways, so I figured why not just be a fucking spy, I guess.
Like our actual spy got killed, half a book ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A thing that I'd also like to point out, and this goes into Sybil's softer skills going unappreciated, a lot of the skills that Sybil has as far as remembering shit, like knowing everybody, keeping up with what's going on, those small details, Carrot also does all that, but when people comment on it in Carrot, it's because he's kingly or whatever, like it's his supernatural presence or whatever. But when it's Sybil doing it, it gets dismissed, and I think that is interesting commentary on.
Yeah, it's made pretty clear that like when Carrot does it, it's as you said, it's kingly, it's charismatic, it makes him a good leader. But when Sybil does it, it's because she's nice and easy to take advantage of. Or that's the impression people get. It's made very clear that's not actually true, but...
She's so good in this book. She's just so fucking good. I love her.
You love to see
I love the scene where she does the opera. I love the scene where she goes, where first she's like shown enjoying the opera so much and is genuinely excited about it. Like... So charming.
Terry got to use that last little bit of opera knowledge that he didn't get to put into Maskerade into this one.
It's weird that was like this whole long extended ring cycle thing, and yet that I'm just realizing there wasn't a single note about that in the L-Space annotations.
Yeah, the L-Space annotations for this are weird. Like, there's 3 things explaining the whole Chekhov reference for the 3 words. I mean, I didn't get. Like...
It took me a minute
to realize
that
the guy with the gun. He did other things.
There was a bunch of extensive stuff about that. It mentioned that Inigo Skimmer wasn't a fucking reference, you idiot. It's just a couple of names. but it was like weirdly sparse this time, which means nothing in terms of the book. It's just suddenly realizing these gaping holes.
They don't even point out the reference in the title. Like, they don't even mention the fifth element.
That's weird.
That is weird, but also it might just be like, as we said, there aren't as many jokes in this book. This book isn't as funny. There's not like a ton of, haha, isn't it funny I referenced your favorite thing here.
I noticed a few things they missed, and I could talk about that later if need be, but like, there was like, they're inventing the traffic camera at the start, or like they invented the Denver boot, but in Ankh-Morpork, or like, that's the sort of thing they usually mention. It's weird that they didn't.
Yeah.
Or there's a fucking Enigma machine reference in this.
Oh my god, I screamed at that.
Or that the clacks are like, which the first time the clacks show up, are like of like actual telegram towers back in the day. Like, that was just a real thing that they brought into Discworld.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was gonna say also, there's less jokes in that there's less specifically parodic content in this book too. Like, it's still like this is a twist on fantasy book, but a lot of the world building that happens in this book is very much more like, it's less like, oh, you know how this works, well, here's a little funny twist on it, and more like some actual work has been put into it. I really liked the concept of like, well, okay, like, dwarves were really taken to some logical conclusions here that I thought were really interesting in the whole concept of like, so here's why the deep dwarves dress like that. Here's the original role that knockermen played in society. Here's why when they tend to discuss things, they tend to discuss things in small groups and then sort of break apart and bring those conclusions to other groups to talk about instead of just getting together in one big thing. Here's why they're so hung up on laws and stuff. Just a whole lot of it makes sense because it was like, the book is about dwarven culture, but I was just really impressed that if like this were the Terry of maybe like 10 or even 5 years ago, he would have fallen back on way more jokes about like, oh yeah, quaffing and gold and all that other bullshit, hi ho. There were like a few things about that, but most of it was all new, and it was all like, it really helped fill in this really interesting culture that is unidentified, like extremely unmistakably not human culture, but runs parallel to it while being shaped by the environment that it formed in.
We're very much elbow deep in the point of the series where Terry's okay, I've told the obvious jokes. Now how the fuck do I make any of this work? And we're getting into the serious world building. We're getting the implications of stuff. We're getting, like Grace mentioned, the Clacks Towers are in, and I could have sworn those came like 10 books later, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
Because they're just they're one of the keystones of just the modern Discworld stuff.
Yeah, like you could draw a line between the Clacks Towers don't exist and the Clacks Towers exist. More so because they don't actually get their own book for like, there's no going postal type book where somebody has the idea and it's like, oh, we should do this.
What's interesting though is Going Postal is the Clacks book because, and it's good that they are introduced now because when you get to Going Postal, the problem is not their invention. The problem is we need them now, but capitalism has turned them into a monopoly.
And you're very much seeing them being operated as a monopoly because Vimes notes several times about how there is so much money involved in this that if anything goes wrong, a lot of money is going to come down on somebody's head.
And right now, these are the owners who lose it to the people that turn it into a monopoly right before Going Postal.
Which, hey, we saw that in real life. We have
they're not quite Bell Telephone Company yet, but they're getting there.
Which, I mean, maybe you could argue that something like the telecommunication system is kind of a natural monopoly, but, you have to regulate that sort of thing.
What, you're saying that Pratchett's eventual book, where he's going to go really, really in depth on his thoughts about like telecommunications companies and the internet, and generally do a bunch of programming jokes, is going to have like him being mad at telecommunications companies? I don't think that'll happen in Going Postal.
No way.
I think it'll be all about how great AT&T is.
Looking forward to it.
You're going to like that one.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
Yeah.
That's going to be the Grace book. Yeah.
Unfortunately, no one says hack the planet in that book.
Oh,
No, but I feel like if he had only had just a few more years, we could have gotten a Discworld cyberpunk book.
Clack the planet, perhaps?
Instead of just getting Clack the Planet. Oh my god. If we were the kind of podcast that had merch, oh baby.
I mean, never too late to start.
It's tempting.
true.
It's tempting.
But yeah, speaking of dwarves, really, I mean, I think that one of the big reasons we've been excited to talk about this book coming up is because it's also the most transgender book as of yet in the Discworld series.
Yeah.
We got to talk about
many
Shuri.
trans dwarves.
We got to talk about dwarf genders. We got to talk about those fucking pronouns. We got to talk about how city dwarves are getting fucking soy pilled and beta cucked.
I had to leave all of that out of the summary because it would have added like 2 entire minutes to it.
And this book hits the ground running, not even with dwarf gender stuff, but with Nobby being trans again.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that was a running thing.
He just loves making
Nobby
that
now just
joke.
cross-dresses. It's no big thing. It's whatever.
Like there's a whole thing where Nobby is like, well, it seems rude to make the woman, be the bait for vice stings. So obviously I would do it. Like,
And no, I got to do it right.
There's some weird implication that Nobby invented being gender non-conforming, at least in Ankh-Morpork.
I mean, he's species non-conforming, so it makes sense that he would also be gender non-conforming.
Yeah. What is Nobby Therian? Discuss.
Oh god, we don't even need to get into that can of
I
worms.
can't do it. I mean, like, I will also say, I think that cross-dressing is funny is just kind of deeply embedded in the British psyche in a specific way. Like, as someone who's seen a little bit of Doctor Who and a lot of Monty Python and a lot of other comedies and things, you just keep getting hit with random cross-dressing jokes where they're not even jokes, they're just guy wearing a dress, to the point that it's not even like the isn't this gross and weird, it's just like, and now for our next part we'll have a guy wearing a dress, and that's just part of this sketch. It's not the joke, of course. That's just something you have to do here. And I can't get into that because I'm not British enough.
Now,
yeah, it's definitely a British humor of a certain age thing.
Yeah, Britton, is everything like okay? Is there something you want to talk about with us?
It's not okay.
Now, we've said this on previous episodes, but like Pratchett has gone on record that he didn't even think about the transgender implications of dwarves discovering, the fairer sex. That it is not something that ever occurred to him. He was delighted that people latched on to it, but he wasn't doing any of it intentionally. If he wasn't doing that intentionally, he sure as shit wasn't doing it for Nobbs.
Yeah.
And yet,
that
that's what happens when you do this sort of thing with first principles, but you treat it with respect, and it feels weird to call it humanism when it's fictional dwarves, but as people,
the author is dead.
Eventually
they even have the fucking someone comes out to Vimes and he's like, I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes. And, it's the exact fucking conversation I've had with everyone I've come out to. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no.
And he just does it from first principles.
Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm saying he didn't set out to do it.
No, it's wild, and you love to see it. A+, Terry, you did it.
Yeah.
Eventually
I think it's
he will discover trans masculinity from first principles, and that's going to be a great time.
Oh, I can't wait for Monstrous Regiment. That's going to be such a good episode.
So fun.
That one is at least more intentional.
But Yeah, I feel like not only like did I really enjoy Sherry's whole arc in this, but also I love that she got more characterization in general. Like that's the other great thing, is that just because like this is like a central core thing about the book, and this is central to her being in the book, like she also, like, we get more screen time from her, or page time, than we ever have before. And, you know, she has this, like, really, like, sharp eye for details and a quick mind that we haven't been able to really see as much in previous books. She's got an incredible sense of empathy. Like, at the end of the book, like, finding out the whole plot behind, like, the reason why Dee planned this whole, like, scheme to destroy the stone and throw dwarf kind into war and shit was because Dee thought that city dwarves were getting too weak and soft and shit. And finding out that this is born out of, like, Dee's own deep-seated self-loathing and shame about her own gender identity. And, like, for Sherry to be like, yo, I gotta fucking talk with her. This isn't something that we should be like, this is important. I know how she feels. Like, she kind of got worked up and went and turned this into something bad, but, like, you know, she still deserves to have somebody to talk this out with and to, like, think about this with. Like, that's so, like, fucking trans rights, yo.
Yeah.
That's some hella shit.
And of course, because
That
she
meant
is
a lot.
a member of the Ankh-Morpork City Watch, who are all a little bit of a bastard, she does use this to interrogate her. Let's make it clear.
Yeah,
she
but,
does
I
do
was
that,
waiting for a chance to
which
draw that.
like doesn't necessarily detract from her wanting to have that conversation, but it is very funny.
Yeah, of like,
Yes.
oh, by the way, you know, here's a list of names she named while I was comforting her. You know, I picked some topics of conversation.
She also does the whole, like, she even does the whole trans femme butch horseshoe thing at the end of the book, and is like, you know what? I don't really need to wear, like, incredible amounts of feminine clothing literally all the time to be comfortable in my own femininity. I can just, like, express myself how I want, and if people can't catch up with that, they can go piss up a rope, which is, like,
Yep.
every trans femme gets to that point eventually where it's like, I'm going to decide how I do this.
Right.
Because
The right to do
I
something
can't-
is also the right to not do something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do like her ridiculously sequined outfit that we get
Yeah.
Yes.
vague descriptions
God.
of, but not.
Like she
Yeah, she made the right call. She absolutely
does
made
the
the right call
skirt
to
go
not wear
spinning.
that to the coronation.
like she even does the skirt go spinny thing. Come on.
Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
so wonderful.
Also, Girl King. Like
Girl King.
when they're all at the coronation at the end, and the freshly coronated Low King is giving everyone gifts and favors. Like the king, like implies like, well, you know, you'll have to give me the name of your dressmaker because I've had some thoughts, you know, and it got me to think about
We
that.
stand a girl king, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it got me to
Also-
think about that Tumblr post where Richard Nixon says, like, you know, I think every young boy wonders, like, what if I'd been born the opposite gender? And Henry Kissinger's are like, no, we don't. That's not a universal experience.
Admittedly, Richard Nixon said a lot of really fucking weird shit. I want to listen. There's probably a podcast out there somewhere that's just weird shit Richard Nixon said, and
Yeah.
God, I would listen. I want to listen to that.
I will say you do get more Girl King later.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Hell yeah.
Literally
want
a
to-
girl boss.
I do want to at least also point out that even if Sherry didn't wear the dress, she did put on makeup, and the king very specifically compliments her on that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Her thing is really good. There's some interesting stuff with dwarf society in this book that I kept thinking about. That's kind of a bit of an extended rant. I don't want to.
How so? I mean, this is a podcast. It is an extended rant.
This is the time for the extended rant.
Well, how
Yeah,
much do
bring
you
it
know
on.
about Tolkien's conception of the dwarves, and specifically Tolkien's conception of the dwarves and how it relates to Judaism?
I do not know much. I did think there was something like
I
not
think I see where you're
entirely
going with this, but
The thing about this
yeah.
is, well, there's a lot of stuff that I could say like, oh, maybe it's inspired by this. Tolkien actually stated this. He actually said that was his inspiration on a number of things related to how he wrote the dwarves in Lord of the Rings. You could dive into it for a while. Like, I mean, Tolkien and race has been explored over and over forever. But like, he based their language on Semitic languages. He based some of their aspects on less flattering stereotypes, and some on what I can only call flattering stereotypes. It's complex. It's very much, he kind of built it inspired by Jewish people in some ways that are rather small-minded, in some ways that are rather admirable in terms of how he viewed it. Like, he definitely thought Jewish people are cool, and that's why I'm doing this. So it's really fucking complicated.
Not to get too far into it, but there are some signs that Pratchett was doing a little bit of the same thing.
Yeah, there's elements of it in this book that felt very similar, like the whole division between like dwarves as adapting to newer ways of doing things, dwarves as like changing, not changing the rules, but
Pratchett did talk about this.
He did.
Because he says that it's not specifically Judaism or Jewish people. He said that it was kind of, because they're such broad strokes, there's a little bit of Judaism, but it's more about immigrants in general, because he has also had Arabic readers recognize their culture in dwarves. Yeah. So it's kind of, he's not specifically going for Jewish people, but he understands why people are pulling that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense.
And like, I think it's one of those things where there's a lot of other stuff too. Like the scone of stone is the what's it called again? Is it the scone of stone?
The scone of stone, which is a reference to the stone of scone.
Yeah,
which does not make it any easier to remember.
Right. And that's Scottish, right?
Yeah, it's Scottish, but like everything else, the English grabbed it and called it theirs.
Yeah, right. But now it's on like permanent
they
load.
They did in fact
and now
need it last year.
In Edinburgh.
It's just a strange thing where, because there are elements of, like, if you're going to tell a story about immigrants, about people in a land, oftentimes those stories end up with a lot of elements of like Jewish people, because there's a lot of Jewish immigrants who've gone all over the world. That's a thing. And like, also the fact that dwarves do have this history and how they're conceived, which, I mean, not to defend Tolkien, but I will say, in his defense, a lot of the much worse parts of their characterization definitely came from other later fantasy stuff. sorry. Dungeons and Dragons. But like, you get this kind of meeting point where, by telling a story that's very much about like divisions in culture, about immigration and wanting to return to quote unquote the homeland where things are done traditionally and that's how they should be and all of that stuff, you end up putting the metaphors more at the front, and it's interesting. I genuinely don't fully know how to feel about it. It's really interesting. I'd like to hear more from someone who has more experience with Judaism than me, because I'd be curious. It's complex.
I was raised Catholic, so I can't help you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, despite everything, this podcast has surprising amounts of overlap in our childhoods.
Yeah, we're homogenous in some ways. Listeners, if you are, if you grew up in a religion or orthodoxy or cultural background or some fashion. This is so vague. This could be a lot of things. Readers, if you have thoughts, let us know.
We always want more viewpoints. We need to be called out on our bullshit.
Once again, I want to make it clear, like, this isn't a criticism of the book. Like, I think it honestly makes the book a lot stronger, a lot of these elements, because they give a depth to dwarf culture that otherwise might not have existed. They give an amount of, like, the elements of, like, here's how the whole thing with the deep down dwarves and the, what are they called? The knockers?
The Knockermen.
The Knockermen.
Knockermen. Yeah. Like, those guys, that whole aspect of it is, like, a really interesting bit of culture that really develops dwarven culture in Discworld in a way that, like, makes them so much more interesting. Like, and I think a lot of the little elements that he obviously relied on definitely make the books better and make this book better. But it's a coincidence when it all comes together like this that I just kept noting as I read the book.
The Knockermen are especially interesting because that's a folklore thing.
Oh?
The Knockers are a gnome creature from Welsh myth that it's supposed to be like they warn you if a mine is in danger. So it's it makes sense that he would take that name for a folklore thing and give it this special role in dwarven culture.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The practice and the mentality of it is, just straight up how that worked, from what I understand. You get weird pockets of gas down there, and you have to get rid of them somehow. And there's unfortunately no better way to do it than just finding as safe a way as possible to ignite it and stay well back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like knockers are like a mine-specific folklore thing to explain people hearing weird noises when they're down in a mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool that they have like a whole role for that. That's kind of become a ersatz shaman class because they're down there in the dark and they have to hone their senses really carefully and they're inches from death and like people revere what they have to say, and then suddenly somebody comes along and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we invented a new thing that just makes this totally safe and you don't have to do this anymore, and it's going to save so many more lives and it's going to help us mine so much better. So it's like great that people aren't going to die now, but also that removes a bunch of the cultural significance of this role.
You literally just killed a god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And for good reasons too. Like for very
it's like,
justified reasons.
You can't there is no moral argument to not using this invention, and that's unfortunately the problem.
It's really interestingly complex. I really loved the dwarven culture here. It was probably one of my favorite parts of the book. I love how many operas they have, and I love that like a Pratchett in a lot of the previous books has been like, look at these people's art forms, aren't they kind of fucking stupid? And like in this book, he does that, but he does it through the eyes of Vimes, who is like that, and meanwhile Sybil is right there being like, no, this is fantastic, you just don't get it, you uncultured swine. It's so beautiful.
This really is one of the greatest pieces of music ever made.
Yeah.
And not only that, saves the day through opera appreciation.
It's so good. It works really, really well. I really liked that part.
I'm going to correct myself about the knockers because I just Googled it. They're not Welsh. They are Cornish. But Welsh have a similar thing called a cobbly now. So just so you guys don't get letters, I'm actually you.
Wales, please be nice to us.
If you'd like to write us different letters about knockers, please do.
Seems like a lovely part of the island. Cardiff seems delightful. Hello, all our Welsh listeners.
I have a friend in Cardiff who I don't think listens to this. Hi.
Oh, hi. But yeah, that was really fun. Also, I gotta give a shout out to my homie and one of my perennial favorite characters in Discworld, Detritus, got a lot of screen time in this book as well.
He got to be so good.
He's so good at this fucking book.
Good.
Oh my god.
I really like when the scene where there's the stuffed troll head on the wall, and Detritus is like, well, this is my grandma's cup made from a human skull.
Yeah, we all do it. We don't do it anymore, but
This shit sucks, but it wasn't either of us, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah, everyone did it. We don't do it anymore, and that's the important thing.
And I like that that's a good setup to the other stuffed heads that aren't on the wall conspicuously. Later on.
Yeah, the implication, oh shit, we have company, we should take down the stuffed this guy.
Human head.
Yeah.
Well, it's also implied that, so the Ankh-Morpork folks aren't doing it anymore, but the werewolves are, because
They super are.
it's not like the rest of the wall is faded because there's a thing that's been there for a long time that they just moved. They can't tell, did they just take them down, or are they about to put them up? So,
and there's
not everyone has stopped.
the
point.
A lot of the book plays with the modern Ankh-Morpork attitudes about this sort of thing, contrasting with the quote older ways of Uberwald.
Okay, that is actually something that we need to call out here, is the fact that the Loking goes, you keep saying the modern way, you mean Ankh-Morpork's way.
Yeah, there's even a thing I wrote down. I wrote down Ankh-Morpork twinning kink because someone describes Ankh-Morpork as a vampire that bites cultures and turns them into itself.
This is honestly something I find really fascinating because it's something Pratchett struggled with a lot as time went on. Was his kind of... There's the two elements of, on the one hand, I see England as better than these places, because he did. Let's be real, he did. He saw England as more civilized and more advanced than the rest of the world in most ways. We've read the rest of his catalog. We know that's something that he definitely thought on some level. Maybe that changed as time went on, but I don't think he ever really got fully rid of it. But then also his understanding of they aren't good, and they are colonizers, and they are doing that to the world, and they are destroying things as they do this. And it's one of the big problems I have with Ankh-Morpork in general in Discworld, is that he struggles a lot to talk about Ankh-Morpork being kind of a colonizing force to the rest of the world, replacing cultures with their own, destroying what it finds in the pursuit of capital in these places. But Ankh-Morpork doesn't have a colonial history. It doesn't have England's years of looting the world in an evil fucking way. It doesn't have England as a power. It doesn't have any of the history of England. It's just some place.
And it's always made... Yeah, and it's made weirder by the fact that Ankh-Morpork doesn't have a standing army.
Right.
England would, go park troops in a place. Ankh-Morpork prefers the more neoliberal, conquest through capital, which is...
It's jumping right to neoliberalism. It's jumping right there without any of the history of colonialism before that, and then struggling to talk about colonialism. And I'm like, well, okay, here's part of the reason why. It's one of the many things that I think just kind of put a weird element on Discworld. And one of the things that he obviously struggles with a lot, because when you remove that, you can't say, well, maybe the reason that your country is so quote-unquote advanced is because you've been looting every fucking country in the world for the past hundreds of years in an evil fucking way, you piece of shit. You can't say that. They're just another place. What makes them better? And the conclusion is kind of just that Pratchett likes England.
We do get some...
It's weird because Vimes struggles with this.
Yeah.
Because he keeps pointing out, well, so why the hell is everybody leaving your country and coming to Ankh-Morpork? And at no point is an answer ever really given.
Yeah.
It's one of the big questions of Discworld that I don't think he ever came up with a good answer to be frank. I don't think he ever solved.
It's, DS9 does a better job answering than Discworld ever does. Because the vampire metaphor from the Low King is a lot similar to, Quark explaining that Starfleet is like root beer. In that it's once you like get a taste of it, even if you don't like it, it ends up everywhere, and then I guess I'm drinking it. And it works better in DS9 because Starfleet does try to do only people that are coming willingly, but only if you accept these terms. So it's like more balanced when people join the Federation, but you can understand why someone would still not be a fan of it.
Starfleet is also, like, a military force. Like, yes, they're very, like, lovey-dovey, touchy-feely liberal about, but they still have a navy. They still have guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will still show up at your doorstep with, battleships if they need to.
Yeah.
Which, Ankh-Morpork can't really do, but it's
Right.
because they don't have to.
It feels to me like it's more implied that people keep moving to Ankh-Morpork for two big reasons, and one is you make more money there, and two is people aren't always actively trying to murder you as a matter of class.
Yeah.
It's
And
like it feels like it's very
from Uberworld to Ankh-Morpork, they are more equal as far as classism.
Yeah, there's still like a huge like wealth gap, and there's still a power struggle going on in Ankh-Morpork, but it's a different power struggle, and that if you've lived your whole life in the old country where that power structure has existed for hundreds of years, then maybe a shakeup starts to look pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like kind of like late 19th century like let's immigrate to New York type shit going on there too.
We never really hear about people moving from Genua to Ankh-Morpork. And I think like if it was specifically Uberwald's problem, rather than like because of their class structure, then it becomes a comment on the class structure. Where if it was every nation, then it becomes a different conversation.
So we also get like Klatchian immigrants to Ankh-Morpork, but
But we don't get
really
as many.
why,
like they specifically say there's more people from Uberwald than
and
from Klatch.
My point is just Pratchett wants the Ankh-Morpork is modern England. That's what it is at its core in every way, but it's modern England without any of the history of England. Mm-hmm. That just doesn't exist, and it creates a lot of really weird disconnects. It's one of the two big things that this book got me thinking about politically, and I'll get to the other one later. It's strange.
There's also the thing of like people move from Uberwald to Ankh-Morpork because they're at the end with young Igor, who is it is specifically said that he is quote too modern for Uberwald because he's thinks the monarchy is bad. It is and so there's perhaps the implication that if you are perhaps a girl dwarf or someone who thinks having a king is bad or whatever, any other reasons you may not like the more socially conservative aspects of Uberwald, you might move to Ankh-Morpork because they are somewhat better in that respect. And the same reason that someone in our United States might move to Seattle or whatever. Though that particular metaphor is weird because it's hard to imagine a trans person moving to London in 2023.
Yeah.
Specifically for political safety reasons, you know.
Yeah. And
you
again,
know,
that was another reason
general.
people emigrated to America from Europe back in the day, was because they had political or religious views that were
Inconvenient.
Yeah.
yes, incompatible with the current climate back home.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. But yeah, Detritus gets some great fucking screen time.
Yeah.
Love that guy. What a homie. Absolutely great.
I like when they're talking operas and he just explains the opera house and what it looks like.
I love like Detritus just like going off on like artistically explaining every inch of the opera house because he's walked around it so much.
He's the cultural attaché. He's very efficiently explaining culture.
Yeah. He's probably never
What a
seen or
homie.
appreciated opera, but he knows that opera house top to bottom.
Also, like, absolutely at this point, like, Terry loves writing Detritus as a pretty clever guy who knows that everybody assumes he's a really dumb guy and leans into that, which is, like, his big strength in his job is that, like, he's always, like, despite the fact that he's, like, kind of Vimes' blunt instrument type dude, like, he knows when to push that and when to just, like, kind of tactfully not. I don't know. He's great in this book. Loved him. Loved Sherry. I loved all the Igors. I gotta say, the Igors are, like, fucking mad science gender all over the place.
Like they're so. I'm glad we get one of the watch now. Apparently.
Yes.
Yeah. Complete with a rabbit named Eerie.
I'm so glad the Igors are like a major part of the story now, because like they're so fucking great and they're so. I love them. So happy.
We get some good
You know
bits.
what? I'm gonna say thank you to Terry for the fact that the one going back to the watch does not lisp except on the last word.
Yeah, and it's very funny how his dad or cousin or whatever is like, we're sorry about the speech impediment, and by that he talks relatively normally.
Yeah, where you'll notice not only that, but like other Igors will go out of their way to like say words that will hammer on the speech impediment, like I vouchsafe the food stuff out of the carriage, sir.
Yeah, like he even says that him not having the speech impediment like limits his employment opportunities in Ubervoll.
It's so embarrassing to the whole family.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't believe in the peerage. I don't want to call anyone Martha.
God, I'm only realizing that he explicitly pronounced it that way because he was being sarcastic.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You love to
That's
see
great.
it.
And it gives Terry a useful way to get characters healed up from fights way faster and better in the future.
Yeah.
Something
much like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with...
Was literally going to mention JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, you'll notice
you always got to have one character who can use their power to heal, even if it's kind of a weird way. Like, even Jolene could stitch up wounds with her body string.
Yeah, you'll notice that after Crazy Diamond, he's like, oh, this is really useful to have a character do. I'm going to do that every time going forward.
Yeah, which is how we get Hot Pants in Arc 7 with the cream she can spray out of her own body that seals up cracks in other people's bodies.
God, I love JoJo.
JoJo's rules.
I relish not understanding a goddamn word of this.
Yeah. But, yeah, Igor rules. I love all the Igors. I'm excited to see more of them.
We do get some of, like, Uberwald as a country, as a setting, is, like, pretty light on shtick, but Igor's give us some of the... They do give us some of the jokes, like, we do get the, like, hey, we get one of them saying, oh, yeah, I promise I'd lend other Igor a hand. Here it is, it's on ice. Please, please keep it cold until it gets to him.
Also, there's just a bunch of random. Pratchett does something that he did in earlier books way too much, where it's just like around the countryside you see stereotype of this thing, random trope, like here's the weird guards at the gate who are looking scared because there's a werewolf in charge. Here's cottage of three ladies who desperately want see a man and are very excited. he did that a lot in the previous books, where it'd just be like, we're in the vampire land, so now we run into a bunch of funny tropes from Vampire Story, and it's relatively limited here for very much the best.
It only happens when there's some goddamn reason for it to happen.
Yeah, like, at least the sisters were apparently a reference to a Russian play.
And more importantly, they had pants.
Yeah.
I honestly did kind of like them. I really loved the end where the one girl's like, are there any awful marshes there and horrible snowy winters? No? Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Like there's several characters here who, like, what they get to do is like pump their fist in the air, like punch the air excitedly, which is like incongruous but very good. Like, which, speaking of fucking Countess Balada,
Margalata. Oh, I love
Margalota,
her.
yeah.
the first time
Oh my God.
when she greets Vibes in her fucking like fluffy pink sweater with the like the embroidered like bats on it, and I'm like, I've met this woman, she's on the Fediverse, I love her. Gender.
Yeah.
So great.
You ever met a goth who's so goth that they no longer have to prove shit about how goth they are to anyone?
Yes, Iris, we've met.
That's
I like that.
that's very
Also,
flattering.
she's like continuing the joke from Carpe Jugulum about the vampire version of goth kids are like using regular names.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, she's absolutely doing that, but
Yeah.
like she's an old hand at it. And like she's got a pet rat. She rides around in a hearse. She smokes pure black cigarettes in place of sucking blood. She's meddles in politics. She's cool.
Again, we need to
she's
point out
agendered.
here, the last time we had vampires that weren't acting like vampires, they were these horrible abominations that we needed to get rid of. But one shows up and is doing even more meddling in her own way, and we fucking adore her for it.
Yeah, just she's not evil. Well, she's evil, but like QVP evil, not like
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean-
and it's directly drawing a parallel between she doesn't drink blood in the same way that Vimes is, doesn't drink alcohol anymore.
The comparison of, does drinking animal blood really work? Well, it works about as well as replacing your whiskey with lemonade.
Yeah.
Is such a good line.
it's so good.
Oh, just beautiful. No, it really fucking sucks, but you know exactly why I have to put up with it, don't you? Just, God, that's good writing.
This is where we kind of the actual roots of the Black Ribbon Temperance Society later in the books.
Yeah, she's straight up doing an AA meeting at one point.
Yeah.
Which
is great.
could be read as just like a little one-off gag, but no. This is actually load-bearing lore for the entire rest of the series.
And again,
This becomes a way to introduce more vampire characters later in the Discworld series, Grace. Just as not really a spoiler, just as like
looking forward to it.
basic. Yeah. It's great. There's a vampire in the future who I'm very excited for you to meet.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh wait, no, the truth is next, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Oh boy!
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
for once we get to actually be all super excited about this, and it's like, hey, don't worry about this. You can literally go read this as soon as we're done recording.
You will get instant gratification. It's great.
We are at that point now.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're in the banger streak. The vampires and the dwarves aren't the only political powers in the area. We also need to talk about the werewolves, which I feel like we've been putting it off long enough.
There were multiple times where we could have transitioned to the werewolves, and I waited for you to bring it up.
Yeah. I wanted to clear a space so we could just really dig into them. This is the werewolf part of the podcast.
This is the werewolf break.
Yeah.
This is the werewolf break.
So they're Nazis.
Yep.
And I have mixed feelings about that. I understand why they're Nazis and why make the werewolves the Nazis compared to other groups in Uberwald. But I prefer when werewolves are Jewish, to bring it back to coded Judaism in the dwarves. Because if you didn't know this, the guy who wrote the screenplay for the original Wolfman, he was a Jewish man that fled Nazi Germany. Like, he got out right before they would have prevented him from getting out. And there's an interview with him where he talks about how the full moon in the Wolfman, to him, is the rise of Nazism in Germany. Because it's the full moon is turning Lon Chaney Jr. into a monster in the eyes of his neighbors, against his will. And that is how he felt about Nazism rising. And I wanted to make sure I got, like, the details correct. So I did pull up an interview that was with him before he died. So if you all want to read that later.
Oh, cool.
It will be
I'll
in the
link
show
it in the
notes.
show notes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So so I usually like werewolf stories more when they're a metaphor for some oppressed class. And I'm not crazy about werewolves as the oppressors, but they work better for the Discworld werewolves because you have to be born a werewolf in Discworld. So if they're gonna be an oppressive class, it makes sense that you have to be born into the upper echelons. Yeah.
I kind of want to point out that, like, the werewolves in this is werewolf as superpower, not werewolf as curse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So being born into it. And it also ties into Terry Pratchett does a lot of werewolves are more like dogs because they are when wolves meet humans. And he's done that before in Men at Arms, and it's kind of him just expanding on that. And again, it also makes sense for them to be Nazis with the eugenics angle that Wolfgang is running on as far as killing Angua and his other siblings for having basically a handicap. As far as werewolves are concerned. So there's like bits and pieces that I like about the Discworld werewolves, but I do I'm not crazy about the initial premise of werewolves equal Nazis, but I understand why he got there.
I mean, it's these werewolves in particular, I guess.
Because this is also
And,
fantasy
like,
Germany.
well, despite what I said earlier, Angua absolutely treats werewolf as curse. Because she actually has to live with this shit. The actual Uberwald family is just like, they don't fucking care. They're just, masks off, muzzles out.
And it's also they're using the werewolves as Nazis as like, okay, why do people move from Uberwald to Ankh-Morpork? And it's almost all the reasons are to escape conservatism, whether you are a female dwarf. And in Angua's case, it is her rejecting that conservative oppressor role. So even though it is a curse for her, it is more her rejecting the shitty things her family does than curse in the traditional sense.
Yeah. Like that's the bargain, is like you can not only can you have super strength, super speed, super healing powers, but you also can live among people who understand you, who really get you, and you can rule over the countryside. The trade-off for that is you're evil.
Yeah.
And you got to keep killing people to keep establishing that you're evil. And also, I like that in the book they kind of imply that, like, the werewolves aren't as, like, they're not as powerful as the vampires comparatively, and they don't exactly have the same kinds of, like, wealth and cultural cash that the vampires do. So they're kind of they're kind of like this, like, they see themselves as despite as like oppressed aristocrats, and that's what allows them to have the license to do whatever they want in the name of reestablishing their dominance. And that's why they're so you know,
That's why
dangerous.
they're Nazis.
Yeah,
Exactly, that's why they're Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're fascists, and because they believe power should go to whoever is physically strongest and can see his power, because they're fascists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like an interesting thing is so you have fascists need to quote unquote reclaim a former glory. So it makes sense that the werewolves being the second run on the ladder. And that's why they gotta push forward. But I usually prefer werewolves as a found family metaphor. I've done panels at conventions where I talk about werewolves being the proletariat of movie monsters. But, because, you know, unions work because it's collective bargaining strength and unity, whereas they're taking strength and unity in a shitty Nazi fascist way rather than a collective bargaining socialist we're building a society way.
Well, I think like a part of that is as the same thing. It's a difference in how it does werewolves, because I don't think in Discworld there is any time when someone can get turned into a werewolf.
Yeah, no, they specifically say that they can't.
Right, so then werewolf becomes purely a, oh, well, I mean, they even talk about like, oh, well, you can't, werewolves have to be like vague shit about like pure-blooded eugenic stuff for them.
Yeah. It's a pedigree, yeah.
And that also ties them back into dogs.
Where if you had a universe where the people can turn into werewolves, then you get much more of a found family thing, because anyone can be part of this. It's a choice instead of forced in that way.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing with like Angua has siblings that like one of them is the switch. They're still werewolves, but the switch doesn't work. Like one of them's just always human, the other one's always a dog, but they're still werewolves. And this whole thing where Wolfgang, kills off the bad ones because the bloodline, because the purity of the bloodline, and it's in case you didn't already get that this guy is a Nazi, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also understand, like, why someone who is not as invested in werewolves would go to Nazi werewolves before they go to oppressed werewolves. Because Nazis liked wolves, and ancient Rome that also liked wolves. So it's sort of like he started with a very surface level reading, and then expanded in what made sense to him, rather than digging into what came before, like he did with, I think, the other creatures on the Discworld. He's commenting more on how society sees wolves rather than werewolves in particular, and that also gets into a lot of what we think of as werewolf stuff comes from the Wolfman movie. Like, it is actually fairly new. The Full Moon started with the 1940s Wolfman, and the Moon in general is from a movie that came shortly before it. And he included those things, so it's kind of like there isn't as many ancient stories to play off of. There's just modern pop culture.
Yeah.
I mean, we also have the fact that these werewolves are just being constantly held up against quote-unquote actual wolves with the wolf pack that Gavin sort of grapples onto. And we kind of have a callback to, like, Fido from... Was that Men at Arms?
That was Men at Arms.
That was Men at Arms, yeah. The dog that had this same fascist view of what a wolf is supposed to be. Being writ large by a bunch of people that just unironically believe this. Or at the very least, like Wolfgang does, his parents are just kind of too out of it to really they're enablers, but they're not actively evil.
Yeah,
His
it
mom's
seems like
pretty evil,
they're-
but she's more of just like shitty parent evil.
Yeah, she's a shitty parent. She's not like evil for the sake of evil.
You were saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dad is kind of just out of it and not paying attention to what's going on.
Dad is just dog mode all the time and doesn't really like care about human shit anymore.
It is interesting that you have the whole thing with like him coming up with like the game as a thing in the book, and in that there's a bunch of other werewolves, but we don't ever see any other werewolves in the book. Like in here,
They're always in wolf form, hanging out with Wolfgang.
yeah. So they don't really exist as characters. The only character we get amongst them is just Wolfgang as weird Hitler youth.
We don't like get a sense of like what other werewolves here think about this. Like, are they all like little fascists? Are there like how popular are his views?
Yeah, that was one thing that Carpe Jugulum did better, I think, because you got the viewpoint of like, we're trying to create new vampires, not just from the dad of the family, but also like mom and the kids and all the weird reverse goth friends of theirs and stuff. And like, you got this idea that like, oh yeah, this is like, there's like a bunch of vampires out there who really want this new model where they're at the top and everyone else is just cattle to succeed. Whereas with this, like, yeah, it makes sense that it feels more like all of the other werewolves, which I feel like it was kind of implied that the other werewolves are either members of the family or are just kind of like, they hang out around the castle as much as they might as well be members of the family. Mm-hmm. But you get the feeling that they kind of rally around Wolfgang because he's the one who has like ambitions beyond just
he's the charismatic leader.
Be Wolf. Yeah, exactly.
And it's also, I think, so in Carpe Jugulum, you get the vampires that it's not just that they want to do the new thing where they're on top, because the old version of them was also on top. It's just they're obsessed with modernizing, and they're kind of like the bad version of modernizing. And Lady Margalotta in this is like, she is also subscribing to the Vampires Gotta Modernize pamphlet. She's just more successful at it because she is swearing off blood. And that makes humans incorrectly assume that she is not evil. So it's kind of like we're getting, okay, this is all the bad parts of modernization with none of the good parts. And Lady Margalotta is doing a better modernization path, as are other vampires that we meet later. And with the werewolves, there isn't really a variety. It is just Wolfgang being Hitler. Yeah. And it's also, the problem is that because we don't have that variety, we never do get like a counterpoint to them. Like the closest you get to a counterpoint are the wolves, but that is specifically making the point of, well, this is what wolves are actually like. I do like the part where Angua explains that wolves don't like werewolves. And people are like, well, why not? And she's like, why would they like werewolves? Humans don't like werewolves, and we look human sometimes.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist.
It caught exactly in the middle, and in case you didn't pick that up, there's a point where like Angua shows up and sits. The book even says sits exactly between Carrot and Gavin.
Yeah, there was a weird energy with like, oh, is Carrot getting cheated on?
Yeah.
I thought it was
is
just
Angua getting with
it's
Gavin?
her ex.
Yeah, her
and
old
it's
boyfriend
awkward.
Gavin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure what was going on there.
My partner's ex came to visit, and it's not an ex that she hates, so I can't tell the ex to fuck off.
Well, he had a very good point. She was needed.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Gavin and Carrot more because they're both fascinating, but I do want to say, like, on the subject of werewolves, it's interesting thinking about future books because, like, in future books, we're going to see a bunch of different vampires of all sorts. They kind of become a major running theme in the books. Like, there's one in the next book who's great. There's Sally eventually, who I won't say anything more than the name. There's a number of vampires. And obviously, well, no spoilers there actually, but like there's a ton of vampires coming up, but there aren't any other werewolves. It's just Angua. This is the only time.
Angua and Ludmilla from Reaper Man, which is way back there.
But like, this is it.
So it's like, and this goes into, I think it's because he didn't have stuff to pull from. Because he went to, you don't get bit and become a werewolf, you're just born a werewolf. So it is harder to find werewolf stories to draw from because he's already rejected like the common angle of the biting as a curse and then the found family thing. And there really isn't any place else to go. And it's kind of all the things that he does with werewolves that are interesting you can get from Angua. Like, I do think it's interesting that they have a hard time thinking while in wolf form, and their wolf behaviors are tamped down when they're in human form. I like that because it does force them to change back and forth. And that's kind of a thing that's like, if you're a werewolf who can control your powers, what's the point of going back and forth all the time? Because, thumbs are useful. And if you have heightened senses even while you're in person form, why would you need to turn into a wolf? So it's kind of like he sort of wrote himself into a corner with the werewolves in this book.
Yeah. That
there
makes
was
a lot of
pretty
sense.
good bit where they're in the wolf mansion and Vimes notices that the doors don't have handles or knobs because you can't work those with paws.
Yeah, similar to how there's no weapons around because why would they need weapons at all? They're wolves.
Which does...
Now, there's something interesting there because that was a major point with the vampires of, they keep the weapons around not for themselves, but for people there to give them a sporting chance. And I kind of wonder if, like, a previous... a few generations ago, there might have been weapons up in the castle for the same general reason, because the game used to be fair instead of, just rigging it as hard as possible.
That's the thing. The vampire game is, you come and chase me. The werewolf game is, we chase you. And it's not a case of, oh, you got me, I guess I'll stay dead for another decade. It's, oh, you survived. Wow. Here's some money.
And also, the weapons you use against a werewolf are fatal to a werewolf, so they wouldn't want those weapons around. They don't come back the way vampires do.
I mean, if they weren't silver weapons, then, they'll come back eventually no matter what anyways. Which, again, that's much the same thing as with vampires. It's the two of it, again, it's them having, like, the exact same sets of things. But... No, I get it. Like, anything that is particularly effective against a werewolf is going to put down a werewolf for good.
Like a firework.
Like a firework.
That was actually
a really good. I'm just gonna say execution because what the hell else am I going to use there? Because it wasn't so much that he was acting like a dog as he was acting like an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing it to be a prick.
Yeah.
Like, Wolfgang's entire whole shit was like, he loves to fucking, like, hurt people, and he loves to, like, be the scariest dude in the room. Literally the entire time whenever he was on screen, this is a weird pull, but I really did, like, hear his lines as, like, the lines of the fucking bad guy East German bobsled team from the film Cool Runnings. Did any of you ever see that film?
I have seen that, yes.
Yeah.
Jamaica, nice bobsled.
I will give him
Nice
this.
pants, Mr. Civilized.
I actually wrote that down.
You need to listen to the audiobook, Iris, because that is exactly the vibe that Wolfgang has when the audiobook reader is reading him.
I wrote that down.
Mr. Civilized.
I read it like a fucking Chippity Crockett from G Gundam, because that was one of the parts I laughed at pretty good, was Vimes is in this hot spring and Wolfgang shows up, and throughout the entire book he just calls Vimes civilized or Mr. Civilized, or he's making fun of Vimes for wearing his underwear while he's in the hot spring, and he's as he gets there, behold, civilization. Mr. Civilized.
I also...
The same level of smug satisfaction of somebody holding up a plucked chicken and yelling, "Behold a man."
Exactly. Mr. Japanese.
This is another example of when we look at Pratchett's host of villains, his favorite types of bad guy, this is of the complete and utter fucking bastard type. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. Not someone who's really...
Such as Mr. Teotime.
Yep, Mr. Teotime. We'll see it in Carcer eventually. Sometimes Pratchett doesn't come up with an interesting, real motivation for a guy. Sometimes he's just this dude is a piece of shit. And
sometimes people are Nazis.
He's just a fucking Nazi. He's just a fucking absolute monster.
It is a more believable, absolute, irredeemable bastard than Mr. Teotame. Nazis exist. They suck.
Wolfgang's irrationality, the fact that he's so that, combined with the fact that he has been able to get away with that up until now. He is that strong and that fast, and there have been no consequences to his actions whatsoever. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Really kind of fills in he's not a complex character by any way, shape, or form. But I could believe that he exists.
Yeah,
it is.
Nazis unfortunately exist.
It is a bit funny the way that Vimes is you don't understand. I have to go fight him. He'll never stop. He'll keep coming out of it. Some guys, they'll just keep fighting forever and not give up no matter what you do to him. Idiots. They're just awful people. To Sybil, who's fascinating.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I
think I've met the type before, yeah.
I do want to quickly talk about Wolfgang's death scene, because it was the other thing that really stood out to me in terms of interesting themes in the book, because Vimes does kind of execute the guy. He does do
in front
that.
of everyone.
Yeah, and he does the whole "you're resisting arrest" thing, which reads a little bit differently to me than it probably did to Pratchett, given
we live in the
circumstances,
future.
Yes.
But it had me kind of thinking about how Pratchett portrays the cops in general, and the other big problem I think that he had that he never really conquered, which is just, what's his solution to fundamental contradictions in society? The answer is usually a really, really cool guy. There's a fundamental contradiction in the Watch between being a police force, which are kind of evil, and being a generally good thing, something that keeps the peace and actually pushes for a better city. There's a contradiction between, you see them doing petty traffic scams to people at the beginning, and you see Vimes constantly struggling with the idea of, I deserve to get revenge against this guy. Why shouldn't I? I should do it. So, but he doesn't, and he makes sure he follows the rules in this specific way. But when we look at why, the only reason we can come to is Vimes is just that fucking good of a person, essentially. He refuses to compromise. And that's...
Everyone agrees, including the Uberwald cop, Tommy Tim Tams or whatever.
Tantany,
there you go.
Tantany, yeah.
Just kind of agrees, oh no, you gave him every opportunity. There was no way to foresee he would catch the firework in his mouth. You gave him every chance to not do that. I think what you did was cool and justified, which that dude was a Nazi. It's good that he died, but it is
right. Vimes refuses to take that. Vimes struggles with it because he's like, I did just murder a dude, and that central idea, him refusing to mentally give up on the idea that he did murder a dude, that is the thing that he did, keeping that contradiction in him at all times is how Vimes balances the central contradiction of being a cop in this universe.
And it works through the book where Vimes keeps telling himself, like, Vimes has to tell himself that he genuinely believes that he's never killed anyone with his own hands. Yeah, like, sometimes he has fallen on top of people have died, people have died in his wake, but those were accidents, or those were murder. Those were, the natural consequence of what happened.
I do think, like, to give it the seriousness that it does, like, the fact that he refuses to make, like, a witty one-liner before throwing it makes the point that, like, it's to contrast him with Wolfgang, who has been doing the witty, what he thinks are witty one-liners every time he's about to kill someone. And so, like, it is a good contrast, but it is also like, but
it's
he could very easily be a Wolfgang.
It's the thing of, like, there's the line between the cops and a gang is thin, and we live in a country where that line doesn't exist. They are a gang. And, like, that central contradiction there, that central question of, like, how do you have a police force that doesn't do these things? Pratchett's answer is, you need a guy who's really fucking good at not doing it. And this is something that I think kind of Pratchett's, like, he was very able to see the problems in things. He was very able to see the central contradictions in a lot of stuff. He could see the contradictions in Capital in a lot of ways. He could see the contradictions in policing and how it's handled, and he'll do it more later and all of this stuff. But he never really came up with a better answer than, what if there was a Vetinari? What if there was a Vimes? That's his answer in the end, is you just need one really good person. And I adore Vimes. Vimes is, like, honestly fundamental to my moral compass. I was reading Discworld I've said this a billion times, I was reading Discworld when my faith broke. I couldn't figure out how to believe in God anymore, and thinking about how to develop a moral compass without God. Genuinely reading Discworld and reading Vimes' struggles helped with that. But the idea of a system beyond that, a larger system than that, I'm not saying, well, he should have come up with communism, but, like, the idea of maybe we need more than just one guy, it's something that he didn't do. And I think it's something that the books struggle with a lot.
It is.
There's a post that sometimes makes the rounds online called Discworld Made Me a Libertarian. And it's kind of Pratchett, while he has never saying libertarianism is the answer, he does seem to distrust governments and systems, or think they won't work, or, like, has a distaste for bureaucracy, which is why he never gets to we should make socialism. It's more just like, no, someone should just do the stuff that needs doing. And that's kind of how he approaches the witches. Like, they're not an official government force. They just, quote unquote, do what needs doing. And because that contradiction of, he doesn't really believe in the government unless there is a mythically competent person like Vetinari in charge. And he is aware that that person is impossible. But if you look at, like, all the examples he has of people trying to make a government, they're incompetent or can't get their plan through to the people, for whatever reason. And I think he maybe started to work on that in the later books, because there was a fan theory that Vetinari was training Moist to take over as patrician. And so Vetinari can be ruthless enough to force people to do the things that they need to do and get things to work. But then you need a Moist to convince people it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think the later books definitely do have more of a bent of like, as much as I think some of them are weaker just because they're written at the end of his life and he was struggling, obviously, and we'll get to those eventually. Like, there's definitely more of a bent of like, here's a lot of characters. We don't just have one Vimes anymore. We have a host of people in the city. It's the idea of, instead of it just being one guy, it's people through doing these things can build other people up, and maybe collectively we can create a better world, which I think is something that he's getting towards at the end. And but it's a contradiction that he never answered in his books, and I'm not sure he even recognized, honestly.
Well, I think that maybe he did start to recognize it later in life.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Because he realized that systems were what was helping him move forward.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it is not a coincidence that he eases up on systems helping people when he starts to be ill.
It is wild how in this very book, as soon as the Watch loses Vimes and Carrot, it immediately just stops working. And Nobby forms a police union, and they all go on strike, and it's kind of made clear that, as soon as there are no police, there's no crime. Like, they say that, having police is what makes crime exist.
Admittedly, the book is the reason the police falls apart isn't necessarily because Vimes left, although that's a big part of it. It's because Colin got put in charge, who should never be in charge of anything.
Because he sucks.
Yeah, and the implication is also that the reason there's not a ton of crime is because everyone knows that the break from the police is not going to last, and they don't want to be in trouble when it's
Mr. Vimes would go spare!
Yeah, you know that as soon as Vimes and Carrot come back, things are going to go back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tiny interjection. The only time the librarian appears in this book is one mention of Vimes going librarian poo because he didn't want to say ape shit.
Yep. I was going to say that.
Technically.
He was mentioned.
Best
bit.
Librarian mentioned.
I think there's also another element of this with the thing you were talking about with people reading the Discworld books as libertarian, which is that, when you describe the guild system, it basically is libertarianism. And the thing about that is that as the stories go on, the guilds go from that's how Ankh-Morpork is. Isn't that a funny joke? To usually the bad guy? They are usually the bad guy that Vetinari and Vimes and Moist and whoever are having to basically push back against and keep from fucking overreaching to take over the city.
I mean, as early as Men-at-Arms, they were up to this shit.
They're going to be up to it next book.
They're going to be up to it a lot. It's a transition of him being well, Ankh-Morpork's a disaster, but, maybe this sort of funny disaster can work, to okay, no, it wouldn't, and let's think about why.
Remember how one of the bad guys of soul music was the recording industry?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I think he's gonna. I would say this is the reason I bring it up is because it's a theme that I think he will struggle with for the rest of his books. This idea of there's central contradictions to my world and the way I've built things and everything about them, and I don't really have a solution for that except what if there was a good guy without a gun? At times. I'm interested to see how this thought plays out in the rest of the books and how it evolves as it goes on. Yeah. Also, Carrot's kind of a bastard in this one.
Yeah, he's kind of weirdly jealous.
Yeah, he actually gets to be a little bit of a pissant.
There's hints of this sort of, maybe he's not like this perfect magical squeaky clean boy that everybody loves. Maybe he's kind of aware that he holds way too much power.
That, or maybe he isn't that anymore.
There's even like where Angua tells him, like, I wish you were kind of a bastard more, or at least like I wish you were like at least sigh a little bit when I'm an inconvenience or whatever. Like she tells him that point blank, and maybe you take that to heart a little bit.
There's an interesting read, I think, of Pratchett here of Carrot as almost a Superman type character, where it's like he can do anything, he's able to do anything, he's the most powerful guy around, and he'll never do anything wrong. But who is he beneath all that, and how does he? The fact that that's who he is, how does he deal with the fact that's kind of an annoying person to be? There's also the implication that he basically killed Gavin with his actions. That he was like, if I dive in here and get fucked up, Gavin will kill the dude and get killed in the process. So, time to take out the competing love interest.
Time to kill my girlfriend's ex.
That's really fucked up, but also kind of understandable in a weird way.
Yeah.
Hey, last line of the book, wolves never look back.
I don't know, it's an interesting characterization of Carrot that I feel like alludes to a lot of depth that he didn't have before, and I like it.
Well, I think, like, that depth was hinted at before when Vetinari showed him the throne of Ankh-Morpork and he rejected it. So I feel like he has been aware, but it's also like
it's much more textual this time.
It's also like Carrot is only a good person because of Vimes. Like, if you think about all the times Carrot has been an asshole, they're usually when he is bumping up against something that goes against conservatism. Like, he reacts very bad to Sherry in Feet of Clay. And when he first finds out Angua is a werewolf, he pulls out a sword. And so it's kind of... Carrot does have all this power, but the only reason why he is actually a good person is because of Vimes and Angua and the people that are around him telling him to cut it out when he does something that is heinous. Like, it stops him before he goes too far. Because his knee-jerk reaction to a lot of things is kind of shitty and conservative.
Yeah, no, it's definitely he works best in this spot, and I like him. I like him a lot.
The scary thing is kind of if the nobility or the upper crust of Ankh-Morpork had found him before he decided to become a cop, he would be the antagonist of the whole series.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. He needed a shitty bastard like Vimes to be in charge of him.
Everyone's favorite cop dad.
And in that way, Vimes has killed or at least preempted another king, just like his great-grandfather, old stone-faced Vimes.
Trying to think if there's
That's true.
Trying to think if there's anything else in the book that we really gotta talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're running a little bit long, so was there anything else we wanted to talk about before we go to the ranking?
Yeah,
we
there's
skipped
a few things I wanted to mention.
We skipped all of Colin's stuff, but
That's
fair.
That's
Who cares?
I'm gonna be real, who cares?
And
It's
also,
some moderately funny jokes, and that's it.
And also, all of Gaspode's... He's in this book, by the way.
Gaspode was in this book, yeah.
I liked Gaspode in this
and
book.
Gaspode was there, too.
Gaspode has grown on me. I liked him in this book. I love that Pratchett just
just a
shoves
little guy.
Gaspode in this book, and you're just like, God fucking damn it, he's here again.
Because he needs a dog that is also between being a human and being a wolf, but in a different way. But I do have...
He's just a little guy. It's his birthday. You gonna be mean to him on his birthday?
Yeah. There are a few things I wanted to mention at some point. We get Leonard of Quirm again. He's also here. There's a really funny exchange early on where, the death of Wallace Sankey, the condom manufacturer, still, matters. Colin is talking to Vetinari about it, and Colin mentions that he doesn't approve of contraceptives. He thinks they're unnatural. And Vetinari, where he would normally, have some kind of, clever thing that's making fun of him without realizing it, he's, genuine. He's like, oh, that's not natural. And Vetinari is, genuinely confused. He's like, what do you mean, darling? Do you eat raw meat and sleep in a tree? What do you mean? It's very funny that he's just genuinely confused by are you an Anprim, Colin? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think they say somewhere else in the book that Vetinari has a hard time dealing with Colin because he has to slow his brain down so much, or else all of his comments are going to go whizzing over his head. Yeah,
Vetinari's very fun because he's does this catty thing where he is making fun of the other party, but Colin manages to catch him off guard, which is very funny. I was replaying that scene in my head a bunch.
Yeah. And all this after they spent so much bonding time together in Django. It's so strange.
So glad we don't have that. Fuck that book.
Grace, I do want to call out the fact that apparently you file Vetinari as using the rarity voice. I don't have any comment about that. I just need to observe that for a moment.
I think it fits.
Vetinari is the rarity of Discworld.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the kin assignment works, and I can go. Ask me next episode. I'll have assignments for the rest of the main 6.
Thank God.
Who is the sunset shimmer of the disc?
I will hold you to that.
I do need to know who is Pinkie Pie.
I'll get back to you.
Well, that's Rincewind, obviously.
No, Pinkie Pie doesn't deserve that.
Rincewind does not like parties.
Yeah, Rincewind would never remember someone's birthday, and he would never go Joker mode.
Arch-Chancellor Ridcully is Pinkie Pie.
That I could see.
Yeah, no, that's definitely correct.
Ridcully is also kind of an Applejack.
I was just terrified you were going to say Cybele.
No, Cybele's too, official. Arch-Chancellor Ridcully has the exact energy of, I don't give a shit about what all of you're doing. We're doing what I want, and what I want is instead of a party, it's a big ol' hunt. Let's go do it. Fuck yeah.
But in that sense, Ridcully
What
is
if
also
Pinkie Pie was an elderly British man?
Exactly.
What if Pinkie Pie had a gun?
I will say, Ridcully is also Applejack core in that way, and that Ridcully is from the farm. He's very stubborn. He's very I'm going to do things my way. He's very, very honest in that blunt way.
But he's a wizard, which makes him Pinkie Pie.
We can save this for the next episode. This is going to require a lot more debate.
What was everyone's favorite joke? That's what you usually do at the end.
Yeah, I promised we were going to get there.
Oh, God.
But now's a good time for it. I just like the momentary confusion where Colin is misunderstanding something so badly that he recounts that Uberwald is a misery wrapped in an enema.
Yep. There's a bit near the start where the Fool's Guild is on fire, and there's a whole bit about how unfortunately the Fool's Guild Fire Brigade is made of clowns, and clowns can only do one thing with a bucket of water and a ladder. The train just takes over. They can only do shtick with it. They can never actually put out the fire.
And if it was funny, clowns wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Lord Vetinari. I think that, there weren't a lot of, singular jokes you could pull out of this book, but this one was one I got a big, a hearty guffaw out of. Lord Vetinari drew a sheet of paper from one of the small stack in front of him. Now then, acte sa! To be sure. I have here another complaint of over-enthusiastic clamping. I'm sure you know to what I refer. It was causing serious traffic congestion, sir. Quite so. It is well known for it. But it is, in fact, the Opera House. Sir! The owner feels the big yellow clamps at each corner detract from what I might call the tone of the building. And of course, they do prevent him from driving it away. Sir! Indeed. I think this is a case where discretion might be advisable, acting captain. Got to make an example to the others, sir! Ah, yes. The patrician held another piece of paper delicately between thumb and forefinger as though it were some rare and strange creature. The others being, let me see if I can recall, some things do stick in the mind, so... Ah, yes. 3 other buildings, 6 fountains, 3 statues, and the gibbet in Nonsuch Street. Oh, and my own palace. I fully understand you're parked on business, sir. Like, homie. And then after that, literally the line, Lord Veterinary paused. He found it difficult to talk to Frederick Colin. He dealt on a daily basis with people who treated conversation as a complex game. And with Colin, he had to keep on adjusting his mind in case he overshot. Which, like, yeah.
Mwah.
That's like, the Colin parts are the most traditionally Discworld parts of the book. And as such are the most good for pulling out singular jokes, I guess.
I think...
There was also... this isn't really, like, it didn't really make me laugh, but it was very of its era when, like, so in order to, like, get into the big dwarf cavern under Uberville, there was an elevator. And when they go in there for the big fancy coronation party, they have a band playing elevator music because because this was when elevators still played music, and that was still a funny joke. I don't think I've been in maybe exactly one elevator ever that played music.
Yeah. Elevator music was the funniest fucking joke you could possibly tell. In the 90s.
It was like...
and now they don't even exist.
It was like VCR's blinking 12 o'clock. Comedy gold.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite joke is when Gaspode is asked what is the name of the wolf that they're getting directions from. And Gaspode is like, well, wolves don't have names. They have, like, vibes, like... that they're referred to, so sometimes it's hard to translate what their name is, what we would consider their name to be. And Carrot's like, well, what's their name? And they're like, asshole.
Yeah.
It's a good
That
bit.
was great. That and, like, there's a later wolf whose name is Eats Wrong Meat.
I think my favorite joke in terms of what made me laugh the most was, hang on, I gotta find it real quick. Really early on, you have Constable Shoe said Constable Shoe when the door of the bootmaker's factory is opened. Homicide. You come out, Mr. Sonky, said the troll who opened the door. I mean, I'm a zombie, said Reg Shoe. I find that telling people right away saves embarrassing misunderstandings later on. But coincidentally, yes. Like, yeah. Terrible joke. And I think the joke that made me groan the most, the joke that made me just go, Jesus Christ, is with Vimes in the boat. And when he's talking to Death, and he's like, am I going to die? And Death's like, possibly. It's like, you show up when people are possibly going to die? Yes, it's the new thing. It's the uncertainty principle.
Yeah.
What's that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying. Death is also trying
God,
to
I forgot about that.
Or, like, am I going to die? Mm-hmm. Yeah, eventually, yes, but I'm here for him.
Awful joke. Awful.
This isn't a joke, but I did like the bit when Skimmer gets killed. Because he hears the knock on the door.
Yeah.
And then it occurs to him that you can knock on the door from the inside, too.
Yeah.
And it ends with, they really are quite clever. And that's, like, the last thing that he thinks.
More importantly, that it's calling back to, like, the first scene in the book when the other diplomat fucking eats it, and you just kind of realize, oh, that's what I was reading 50 pages ago.
Yeah. It's that part was genuinely really tense. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I kind of shit on Skimmer for, like, existing entirely to deliver a gun, but, like, he was well written for what he was, and he did actually serve the narrative well, just not for anything that I was summarizing.
Terry got good at writing action scenes in this. There's, like, fist fights and shit that are, like, legitimately like, oh, this feels like a movie. This is really cool.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Also, I guess just to apologize, I wasn't trying to be catty earlier. I was just very earnestly surprised that the person who tells us to get back on topic is the guest.
Oh, no, it's fine.
We all
Yeah. Anything else, or are we going to be going on to the ranking?
Okay, one more thing about the L-Space adaptations. There's a character in, like, the first chunk of page named Al Jolson, and he's obviously the name is a play on Al Jolson, I think it's great the L-Space annotations don't mention that extremely obvious. By the way, don't Google Al Jolson. It's a lot of pictures of the guy in blackface.
Yeah, that was a weird reference.
Yeah.
Why are we referencing Al Jolson here? I didn't get why that was there.
Yeah, because it wasn't really a reference to the man's work or anything, which is good.
No.
From what little I could tell of Al Jolson, his work was extremely racist.
He was the first, he did star in the first Talkie, the first motion picture with sound. Unfortunately, that motion picture was extremely racist.
Yeah.
But, yeah, weird ersatz loose reference in there for no reason. Feel like that was straight out of Moving Pictures.
Yeah.
Didn't get that.
I think now we're ready to go to the rankings.
Thank
All
goodness.
right, let's look at the. So last time on Discovers, Carpe Jugulum took the coveted number 2 spot on the list. I am unsure if we want to start things at the top. Would we say that this is better than Men at Arms, or number 5?
Yes.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
100%.
Okay. Do you think that it's better than? Okay, we'll just skip ahead. Do you think it's better or worse than Carpe Jugulum? This is going to be a sticking point.
Yeah, this is
We're
gonna have a lot of trouble over the next few episodes.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's quite as good as Speed of Play. I think I will say that.
Yeah, I still like
Alright.
Feet of Clay
It's definitely
more.
not the best.
Feet of Clay made me cry more than this
Yeah,
book.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
like it.
Also, Feet of Clay's mystery was more of the meaty part of the book than this.
Yeah.
Like, that was more like, oh, this is a mystery
I
story.
think I liked what this book was trying to say more than Carpe Jugulum. This one was a lot more transgender than Carpe Jugulum, which I appreciate.
Yes.
I have to give this. I say this book is better than Carpe Jugulum, but I also have nostalgia for this book, so I don't feel like I can be unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Watch series.
Yeah, I think I like a lot about Carpe Jugulum, to be clear. And I think that Carpe Jugulum is a little more... Like we've said, its antagonists are a little more well thought out, and I like what it does as a coda to the whole witches thing. But this book has it in the details, like the world building, the political machinations, and just a chance to see characters that we know pretty well by now show off sides to them that we haven't seen yet. While I'm fine with it not getting top spot, I think it could easily slide in at number 2 under Feet of Clay, honestly.
Yeah, I would say that.
I'm going to be honest. I'm a dissenting voice, but I am willing to be overruled here. Like I probably would have put Carpe Jugulum higher than this, but
Okay.
I definitely would have put this above Small God. So I'm perfectly willing to say go ahead and put it in slot 2.
I'm down with like it's really like quantum flickering between Carpe Jugulum and this book for
the two
number
are
2
Z
spot.
fighting.
It doesn't help that there's
Yeah,
this...
Kel, what say you? What say you? Our guest
I like
voice
Carpe
in this decision
Jugulum
process.
better because I feel like its big picture is better thought out. Like this has a lot of fun details, but big picture wise, I think Carpe Jugulum works better. Because like I feel like the villains aren't as well thought out in this book, and also are never expanded on. So it's not even building a base that gets jumped on later. So
That's a good point. And like also, yeah, because Lady Margalotta probably like her whole character wouldn't be as fleshed out without the work put in Carpe Jugulum.
yeah, so it's like
And
the
also,
Carpe Jugulum. It's building off Carpe Jugulum for the vampires, and it's setting up interesting things about the dwarves that get expanded on Thud. But it doesn't really like. I think big picture wise, it's not as put together as Carpe Jugulum.
Okay. You are kind of selling me here, actually. I could put it in at number 3. Number 3 is still pretty high. It's still very high. I would say it is still better than Small Gods.
Which is the fact that we can say that even casually is amazing by itself.
Yeah. It's...
Yeah. I love Small Gods to pieces, but it's... We are in the banger era. It is just... The books are just better written at this point.
They're just really good. Also, I want to say, in response to a discussion we were having before the podcast, real quick, where you kept being baffled that people would think Jingo was the best book of this, because people keep comparing these books to Jingo in reviews and such, and being like, well, that's the good one. I think...
Just outlandish.
If I'm thinking about that, you know who I think that sort of person is? I think that's the sort of person who really liked the really early Discworld books, where they're mostly, here's a wacky parody. Here's a fun, over-the-top, goofy parody of a bunch of fantasy stuff you've seen. This book doesn't have that. It really doesn't. It's a straightforward mystery story in a lot of ways. It doesn't have the jokes. It's not as funny. It's a much better book in basically every way, especially because I didn't laugh at any of the jokes in Jingo.
It is...
Yeah, I can't... No, go ahead.
It is what I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for this. It is wild to see January magazine found it to be satisfyingly similar to Jingo? I guess because it takes place in a foreign country.
I love to hear satisfyingly similar.
And this is before we started recording. I posited that people were saying Jingo is better because it's talking about racism and that's an important topic. So therefore, it is a quote unquote more important book and therefore better.
It is. It does talk about racism. It does it badly, but it does.
The Dear Evan Hansen, you have to appreciate it just because we're about a teen with mental health.
Yeah, basically. I think that, I've read some reviews for comics that aren't very good, but are hitting the political check boxes people want and in obvious ways, and therefore make people think it's important/good when really it's kind of trite. The movie Crash won an Oscar.
Yeah.
And so, if you're quote unquote talking about important things, you can trick people into thinking your thing is better than it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that book sucked, but this one was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, would we be fine with putting it at number 3 then?
I'd be all right with that. Yeah.
I can do that.
Cool.
Yeah, I would maybe say it's better than Carpe, but it's really close. And they're also like very similar books.
It's
They deal with
really
very
close.
similar subject matter, and I could put it in either place. I think we could split the difference and put them both at number 2.
God, you need to make a GIF where it switches every 30 seconds.
I gotta say, we can't have ties on this list. That
we cannot
really the list. We already decided we're not going to do tiers, so if we're not going to do tiers, we can't do ties, because ties are just tiers of 2.
I was personally okay with doing tiers, but understandable. I think the ranking is funnier.
I know that we're almost out of time, but I listened to both audiobooks of this. If you'd like to hear my Discworld audiobook opinions, I don't know how many of you are listening to the audiobooks while doing this podcast. Or if
you're listening to one group of nerds talk about the book. There's plenty of reason to believe they might listen to 2 groups of nerds talking about the book.
So, Discworld recently got new audiobooks. Yep. They have fancy new covers and new readers, and famous people read them. And I think what they did that's interesting is they have a different reader depending on the series. So all the watch books are read by the same guy. Small Gods is read by Andy Serkis. All the Death books are read by the same person, and so on and so forth. And it seems like they picked who reads what series based on how well they fit the voice of the main character. So the guy who reads the new version of all the watch books does a really good Vimes, but kinda isn't very good at the other characters, in my opinion. Whereas the old version the guy has, I think, a pretty good range. And I especially like his veterinary. But yeah, the new ones, it's kind of hit or miss. Andy Serkis reading Small Gods works really well because Andy Serkis can do a lot of voices. And also, since Small Gods is a one-shot, they could pick someone that has a wider range. But then all the Moist books are read by the guy who played him in the TV special.
Well, to all of our audiobook fans, maybe seek out the older one then. Or try both and see which one you prefer.
If you've listened to both the audiobooks, please write it.
Email
Please
us.
write us in. Drop us a line, which, by the way, great.
I make that joke a lot, but I would really be curious to hear people's thoughts on that, because I hadn't really considered it before you brought that up. Thanks. Yeah, that's
great segue, actually.
All of Deathlines are read by the same guy in every book, regardless of who's reading the majority of the book.
Oh, good.
Good and correct.
So that's fun. It made me kind of wish that they did a full cast audiobook rather than one reader.
Kind of amazed they didn't.
Full cast audiobooks are the shit. I still love the His Dark Materials series of audiobooks because they go full cast with that, and it's incredible. It's the best way to experience the book series, I feel. But yeah, speaking of mail, we have an inbox disc at hypnovire.us. That's DISC at HYPNOVIR.us. If you have opinions about the fifth element, the fifth elephant,
either one, really,
element,
we'll take it.
Jesus Christ, we're gonna die. That or Vimes or The Watch or literally anything else we talked about this episode or any other episode, feel free to let us know. We'd love to hear back from our listeners. Yeah, we also have social media. We're DiscPod on Twitter. We're DiscPod on Mastodon. We're DiscPod on co-host. And new for this episode, we have a Blue Sky account, DiscPod at bluesky.social. Blue Sky is definitely one of the websites, but it is one that many people are using right now. And if people are using it, that means we got a market on it. So go follow us there if you're on there, and you'll get updates for when we go live. And you can also talk to us there.
Also,
that's fun.
We, although this may have already happened, depending on when this comes out, we might be doing a special event thing on the weekend of the 15th. Where we're going to get together and stream one of the Discworld video games on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/junipertheory. So if
a Discover's special video presentation,
check our social medias to see when exactly we're doing that, because I believe the current plan is for the 15th, but we'll have to double check. And
I'll post it on the official ones too. I'll be there as well if I'm not too completely blasted on oxys from my surgery, because I have surgery next week.
So that'll be really fun, hopefully, and if not, it'll at least be interesting to play a bad game. And if it's already happened, then you can probably go watch the VOD, so maybe do that.
Yeah. I'm Iris J. You can find me online at Iris J Comics on your better class of social media. And a few of your worst classes of social media. I still post things on Twitter, unfortunately. But I'm more active on Mastodon, co-host, Blue Sky, and then I'm also on Tumblr, Pillow Fort. I'm all over the place. I'm like an octopus. I got my tentacles everywhere. You can also get to my Patreon, where you can support me monetarily, patreon.com/IrisJ. Check out my store, shop.irisj.net, I'm going to promote that so that you can buy my comics and things. It's fun. The one thing that's not Discworld they're going to promote this week, or this episode, really. So when this comes out, the Shortbox Comics Fair is going to be running. This is an event that happens. This is going to be its second year. It's kind of like a big event where you can buy new digital comics from a whole shit ton of really cool creators. There's a whole lot of exciting stuff coming. There was a lot of exciting stuff that came out last year as a result of it. There's a lot of more exciting stuff coming out this year because of it. My partner Nero Villagayos O'Reilly has a story called Phobiaphilia that's horny in an extremely deranged way that you might like. Give it a look. Shortboxcomicsfair.com. It's a great way to support independent cartooning without leaving the comfort and safety of your own home. Yeah.
I'm Juniper. I've find me online at Juniper Theory on co-host. At Juniper Theory on co-host. Just follow me there, probably. Or recently I've been doing a bunch of Twitch streams. Twitch.tv/Juniper Theory. I've been playing through every single pinball video game ever made to find out how bad they are. I've played through over 69 video games.
Nice.
And they mostly aren't very good. However, I will give my one recommendation, which is for Xenotilt, which is the #1 game on the list so far. Xenotilt, you can get it on Steam. It's fucking amazing. It's an amazing...
Is that out?
Yeah, no, it's out, and it's
in
so,
early access,
so good.
but it's
my God.
basically
Yeah,
done.
just if you like
No.
that, if you like weird computer pinball, play that. And if you don't like weird computer pinball, play Screamin' Mad George's Paranoia Escape, because it's nothing like pinball. It's nothing like anything. It's fucked.
Hell yeah.
I am still Belina. I'm still easier to find in the show notes. I don't even know where the hell I post these days. To plug something, I'm going to tell people to go watch Undead Murder Farce.
Yeah.
It is on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
It is fucking incredible. It is hands down the best thing that I've seen so far this year, anime or otherwise. It is very hard to find a good way to sell a half Oni and a severed head go around solving mysteries in Victorian London, but it is just fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Good.
It's some League of Extraordinary Gentlemen shit, and I say that in the most complimentary way
It
possible. It is good where most of these are
It
bad.
has the exact energy of an anime you would find in 2006 on Adult Swim at 2 a.m. that fundamentally changes your brain chemistry and you think about for the next 20 years.
God,
Yeah.
they actually managed. It's a fucking screwball comedy.
Yeah. It's
I didn't
good.
know
Yeah.
you could make those in 2023.
Great stuff.
It's just
I love
wild to
that,
see
like,
protagonists that actually like one another.
I just love that, like, we finished watching the final episode literally the other day over lunch, and Nero turned to me and was like, wow, that was really good. Too bad this is never getting fucking renewed. And I'm like, God, yeah, tell me about it. Ugh. But I tell you what, this is based on a series of novels, and
Yep.
I really want to find out if somebody's translating the novels now, because I totally want more of this shit.
God, I'm still watching. I'm going to be watching more of it tonight because it's anime night with Spider GF. So I'm just continuing to look forward to it.
Tell Roxy we said
Hey,
hi.
Roxy.
Yeah.
Kel, did you want to recommend something? Oh, wait, did Grace go yet?
No,
Shit.
but I usually go last, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for Grace to go, but I can go next. You can read my comics at KELMCDONALD.com. I hate social media, but they are all linked on my website. I just don't post there a lot. You should read my comics, though. They're about gay werewolves in the future.
I love it.
And I
Yes,
also...
the city between fucking slaps.
Thank you. It's a future where everyone takes public transit and horses have gone extinct because I hate to draw cars and horses. I also stream a lot at twitch.tv/KelMcDonald. So if you would like to hear me ramble about whatever I've been watching or reading lately with a friend, you can subscribe to me on Twitch. And I have a newsletter where you can keep up to date with all my stuff. Like I said, I hate social media. They're awful. I can't wait for all the social medias to die. Take care. That's all I got. Grace, go.
No, yeah.
I have been the internet's beloved Princess Grace. You can find my writing programs, podcast posts, and if they also fit to plug, including, I believe, new stickers by the time this episode goes up, at princess.software.
Ooh.
And as for the thing that I do not do that I'll recommend, I will continue the streak of recommending pony music. Well, it's kind of pony music. It's also human music. It's called Spirit Pony. It just showed up on my YouTube recommended one day, and it is a mashup of Neil Cicerica's seminal album Spirit Phone, but with My Little Pony Equestria Girls music, and it's really good. I've been thinking about it since I heard it, it's much better than you would expect. It's just genuinely very good. And so I had to plug it here. Check out Spirit Pony. It's on Bandcamp. It's hard to search for on YouTube, but search Spirit Pony on Bandcamp.
I'll give that a listen. I'm always here for keeping mashup culture alive. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Join us next time for The Truth. We're making our way through Discworld. We're in the really good shit right now, so don't touch that dial. Be good to each other. Truly, it certainly was, or maybe wasn't, a fifth elephant.
I mean, there was a fifth elephant, kind of.
We didn't even talk about the elephant!
Well, never did they in the book that much.
Nobody wants to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, that's...
Good night, everybody. God damn it.
Maybe the real fifth elephant
bye.
was the friends we made along the way.